Today, I'm going to show you guys how I use Google Ads to find high value, high ticket leads. I find that the way that you use Google Ads differs a lot depending on if you're doing a lead gen campaign and specifically looking to use a lead gen campaign to drive sales on your back end, either through an email list or anything subsequent, a sales team in the high ticket values. Versus if you're doing a lead gen campaign and driving to a sale for maybe $5 or something, or anything in that lower level. I also find that it's quite different from the approach and the strategies we need to use on ecom. Not everything is different, but there are a lot of things that are specific. And so today, what I'm going to show you, regardless of if you're a law firm, if you're a plastic surgeon, if you work on financial promos, maybe a real estate company, anything that is a lead gen capture on the front end, and then you go on to convert those people for high ticket sales. Software SaaS could be another good use case for this campaign flow and these tactics that I'm going to show you. And so let me share my screen. I have here okay, so I have here what I want to talk to you guys about today. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is media planning. So the way that I budget and I build a media plan for Google Ads campaign on the lead gen side really stems with the budget that we have at play, right? On Google, a lot of it comes out to just kind of these daily budgets, right? How much can we spend per day on a campaign? I find that it's best to set that number and have an expectation of what that number is going to be based off your actual product, right? So if you have a cost per lead or a cost per lead target, generally I want to spend about 10x that cost per lead target on a campaign to vet it. The reason for that is to get just enough lead flow and to actually know if something's working or not. Right. I've worked with some clients who have a product for sale for 1,500, and sometimes they'll make decisions off of 8 clicks going into that page. Right. It's just not enough traffic to really vet what's going on. So usually I budget, it's kind of napkin math, but generally about 10x of your KPI is what I need to work with to get something going. And beyond that, generally, I find Google Ads is a lot less effective when we budget less than $100 a day per campaign. And generally, if we're targeting like on YouTube or GDN or something, we want to target a few different audiences or something. So for that reason, on small accounts, right, this would be anything that you're spending less than $100 a day per campaign. In this range, I would really recommend using Google Performance Max. The reason why I recommend that is usually when we advertise these promos, we have a mix of branded search, non-branded search, YouTube prospecting, Google display prospecting, a shopping campaign if it's a shopping ad, but we're talking more on the lead gen side. And Performance Max rolls all of those campaign types up into that one campaign. And this is super important because of bid strategies and budgeting, right? When we can consolidate all of that spend, maybe you wanted to spend 25 here, 25 there, or 25 here. We consolidate all of that spend into one. That gets more spend, more conversions, more learning on one campaign. So Google has a better chance to hit your KPI targets. Generally, on these lead gen campaigns, I work with a whole variety of lead gen promos. And for plastic surgeons, it's usually number one. For law firms, it's usually number one. For weight loss coaches, it's usually number one. For most of the clients that I work with, this Performance Max is the best performer in terms of a cost per lead basis. And if you're spending low, I would recommend consolidating all of that budget into that one campaign. Now, Performance Max, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of like a black box, right? All of Google, the ads can run through any Google property. And so what does that mean? It means that your ad could show on Gmail, it could show on Google Search, the Google Display Network, which goes across most of the internet, YouTube, the Google apps, any of those types of properties. And so by consolidating into one, you're just going to be running across the board. But it's powered off of data, and specifically it's powered off of conversion events that you upload into the ad account. And so if you have like maybe 5 conversions here, 5 conversions here, 5 conversions here, it's quite fragmented. When you aggregate those all into one campaign, Google has more to go with. Generally, we look at the conversion or the bid strategy that we use to launch a campaign. Generally, I recommend launching a campaign on maximize conversions bid strategy. It kind of depends, right? Sometimes you launch on maximize conversions and it doesn't get any conversions. If that happens, I launch on maximize clicks and then I move to maximize conversions as you get conversions. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, we can launch on maximize conversions with no problems. And then once you get 50 conversions on a campaign, we switch it over to a target CPA bidding. And that's where you can effectively bid by a cost per lead and squeeze down, squeeze down, squeeze down. What I find is when I launch a campaign, let's say you're spending on a lead gen campaign at $100 a day, generally it takes about 7 days for us to launch that campaign and then get that CPL optimized using that target CPL bidding. Generally, you launch it as maybe $100 or $50 cost per lead. In the course of that week, getting that data in there, you can squeeze it down. So this kind of correlates back to that PMAX conversation, because when you consolidate into one, you get those 50 conversions faster. You get to use that bid strategy, target CPA faster. It actually works faster, and you can pull in that cost per lead. Versus if you split that budget up across the whole variety of campaigns, it might take a bit longer. The only caveat I would put on that is that Google needs to know how to get those conversions. So generally, I don't recommend launching Performance Max as your very first campaign in the ad account. Something like a branded search account or a branded search campaign where you're targeting your own brand terms. That may be, I would launch first, teach Google where the conversions are coming from, teach Google the brand a little bit, so that Google then like has some learning that it can go put into those Performance Max campaigns. So the next thing that we'll look at is building a keyword plan. Let me share my screen again. So if you come into a Google Ads account, there will be this keyword planner. This is where I recommend making your keyword plan and kind of finding the keywords that you want to target. When you start, I would recommend using exact match keywords, right? Google has gotten quite broad with exact matching, which means that they kind of work as you would expect a phrase keyword to work, where it like contains those specific terms. So you can come in here, you can target your market, or you can specify your market. Generally, when you start targeting smaller, like let's say you just operate in Austin, Texas, you can come and you can target Austin, Texas market. I err on the side of broader rather than too specific here, but you just specify whatever your market is. And this is where you can research those keywords. So you can put in your branded terms here. That's probably what I would launch with. You can also put your website in here and get some keyword ideas. I would take those exact match keywords and build your first search campaign really closely using that. Look at the expected volumes that are in there. If they say like, oh, there's 2 million, maybe that's a little bit too broad. Let's look at a specific example. What's it? Plastic surgeon. So you'll look at this and you'll see we're looking at just the Austin, Texas. Maybe we should broaden this up a little bit. Okay. So you can see like maybe we build like a general plastic surgery campaign. Maybe we build a BBL specific one. You can see some traffic for some of these other ones too. I would build it based off of a category. I wouldn't build just like hyper broad campaigns that include all of this. I would look at like BBL and maybe let's build out BBL because there's some other references to it. And then build specifically around that area so you can write copy for it and really tailor an ad experience around this. But if something is like here 10 I would not build a campaign that only can reach 10 people in a month, right? You got to blend this. If it's too big, it's not helpful, right? Like I'm targeting just Austin, so it's kind of small, but if it's too big, it's not super helpful. And if it's too small, it's impossible to work with. And so that's more or less how I go about building a keyword plan. I have other videos on my YouTube channel that go into that part of building a search campaign. So if you want to go through that, I would recommend watching some of that content on YouTube that we've built up. The other thing that I would look at is building a negative keyword list, which let me show you again in the Google Ads account. If you come in here, you can come here and build a negative keyword list. This is helpful, especially for there are some industries that are super location sensitive. What do I mean by that? Law, right? Personal injury law. Maybe you're a personal injury lawyer in, let's say, Reno, Nevada, and you're licensed to perform law in Reno, Nevada, but you're not in California. And so maybe someone in Reno got an accident on the California state side of the line, or the California side of the state line. And so maybe they're searching for California personal injury lawyers, even though they live there in Reno, your market. So what I would do in these location specific terms, I would build out broad lists here, right? You can go easily find on even Wikipedia a list of US states. Paste every US state on here and label it. Obviously, delete Nevada if you're in Reno. The other thing I do is I'll go look at the list of top 2,000 cities, paste it in here, apply it to all of your campaigns so that if someone says, okay, maybe it is personal injury Reno, maybe they're searching personal injury South Lake Tahoe or personal injury Truckee. You can go remove those cities specifically that you won't want to target. Now, those are kind of hyper local, but most of the time what I see is it's not these like small regional cities on the other side of the state line. Usually we're not in those types of scenarios. Usually it's quite a ways away. And so you want to ban Minneapolis and Sacramento and San Francisco and Los Angeles, not these little cities that are just on the other side of the state line. But I would put all of those on this negative keyword list. The other thing that I would do is I would think about these other peripheral terms that maybe are related to your product, right? And so there's like weight loss coaches, which you can put, like if you sell your plastic surgeon, maybe weight loss coaches are the competition. You can put these in here with the quotes to do a phrase match. So you're going to block keywords that contain the word, and then block people who are looking for coaches specifically. Now, if you're a law firm, maybe you put the word defense, right? Because like, where's the big bucks on a law firm lead? It's not defending the drunk driver. It's on the insurance payout that's going to the person who's injured or suing in that situation, right? And so if you want the big payout, you go on the other side. And so you can block out some of the defense type terms that maybe will drive just lower value leads coming in, right? Those are kind of specific examples, but think about what it is for your industry, those types of terms that really make a difference in whether somebody's a high value lead or a low value lead. And then I would add them onto a negative keyword list. I try to keep these organized. So like US states, US cities, you can make a master exclusion list for these kind of industry terms and build all of that stuff out like that. Okay. When you do that, the other thing that's important to look at is what search terms are actually coming in on your account. And so once you build a campaign, you'll be in your account like this, and you will see keywords, and you'll see search keywords. This is the keyword you're bidding on. And then you'll see search terms. These search terms will be the terms that customers are actually using to find your ads, right? Google plays matchmaker a little bit where the customer uses some terms and you use some terms. And through these match types on keywords, Google matches it. I have found that in the last month or so, Google has really relaxed their matching. So it used to be an exact match keyword wasn't exact. Like you had to search for that phrase exactly. An example of that would be like personal injury lawyer. Now I'm seeing that those exact match keywords are quite a bit broader and it just contains that phrase. So like personal injury lawyer, San Francisco could be an exact match to personal injury lawyer. So if you have that exact match term, someone searching personal injury lawyer, San Francisco could still match on it. So those are the exacts. And then you have the phrase keywords, which it used to be that the example I just gave you. If you bid personal injury lawyer, and you could hit on personal injury lawyer San Francisco. That's how it's supposed to work. What I find now is that these phrase keywords are quite broad. And so maybe there's a specific personal injury lawyer in San Francisco. That ad, that term, I see coming in as a phrase match to these phrase keywords. And then broad would be anything vaguely related to the topic. And that has gotten quite broad recently, not even just specific to the category. And so I would look at that search term report and I would make optimizations based off of it. The other thing that I would recommend doing is looking at, so you're making your ad campaign, right? The first thing that I would do when I think about the ad copy is I would go to Google and take a look at what people are saying. So like, what's a good example? Los Angeles. I would come and see what ads are showing up here. Of course, I don't get ads. Let's look at a different one. Okay, so you come in here, you're looking for a workman comp lawyer in Los Angeles. So let's take a look at these ads that are here, right? You fight, you don't, we fight, you win, you don't pay unless we win, no fees unless you win. A lot of stressing around that. You can also use the Google Ads Transparency to come and search for specific competitors. So if you want to see like all of these guys' ads, you can take their domain and you can drop it in here. It only works for verified advertisers, so sometimes it doesn't work, but if they're verified, you'll find them. And then you can come in here and you can read all of their ad copy. So why do I recommend doing this? So you can differentiate your ad compared to what these other people are saying. You'll be surprised by how bad a lot of these ads are, especially if you're targeting a local market. I have looked at some ads for attorneys where it's like headline 1 says Chicago attorneys, headline 2 says Chicago lawyers. And it's like, okay, that's redundant and it's not persuasive. Right? Think about this example we just looked at where everyone's mentioning you don't pay unless you win. I would maybe incorporate some degree of that into the ad. You just kind of have to. But how can you differentiate your ad from that stuff other people are going to see there on the page? Right? It's a contest where all 3 of these ads are at the top of the page and the customer chooses one. And so you have to differentiate your ad copy to stand out. It needs to still be relevant for what people are looking for. So I usually write headlines in a way where Google has forced us to use these responsive ad formats, but I still write ads a little bit like the old-fashioned way. It used to be that we wrote a headline 1, a headline 2, a headline 3, and it ran in that order, 1, 2, 3. Now Google has these responsive ad formats, so Google gets to choose what goes in 1, what goes in 2, what goes in 3. And so what I do is I write these headlines with a position in mind. And you can specify that to Google when you build the ads. And so generally I write, wrong thing. Generally, I write ads with a destination in mind. And so I'll write headlines that are relevant to the query that people are searching for. If it's like liposuction in Portland, my headline will say liposuction in Portland. It's quite transactional. People go to Google to find something. You have to specify that you have what they need. So I'll build out headline ones, and I'll put maybe 3 examples at minimum in here of a headline one. You don't like that it just gave me an old ad and not a new one, but it still illustrates the point. Build like 1, 2, build out 3 headline ones, mark them all by distinguishing here. You're going to pin it only in position 1. So Google will only choose between these 3 headlines for position 1. The same thing with position 2, the same thing with position 3. I generally write position 1 relevant to the query, position 2 relevant to the brand, position 3 more click-through rate specific. So like for personal injury lawyer, I might go personal injury law firm and headline 1. I might say like Peter Daly's law firm or top rated lawyers or something like that in position 2. And then the last one, I might put some incentive to opt in, right? Like call us today for a free consultation, something like that in the 3rd position. We already talked about bid strategies. So the next thing I want to show you, the last thing I want to show you in the Google Ads account is the conversion tracking. And so with Google Ads, it's quite important to track what matters. Like what you send back to Google as a conversion is what Google is going to optimize towards. And so set up your conversion events here, right? If you have a lead, track the lead event. Anything that's in the funnel, I would also recommend you can come in here. You can set up your conversion event like this on the website. You can place code directly on the website. And then you can set it up manually like that. If the code is already on the website, then you can go a more streamlined one. And you can manually create these conversion events for whatever event you're looking for, lead, purchase, etc., and just place the codes on the landing pages themselves. What I find to be super important for these accounts that are targeting high value leads is you need to tell Google the difference between a generic lead, someone who filled out the form or someone who called, the difference between that generic lead and a qualified lead or a working lead or a converted lead. So to do that, you set up a conversion event just like the first way, but you come over here to upload. You can sync this with other tools, or you can do an upload using a Google Sheet or a sheet in general. You can come in here, you can specify what it is, converted lead, whatever the conversion name is, whatever the value, all of this type of stuff. Make that, and then what you can do is you can upload that data. And then when you try to upload that data, there's templates. So we said by clicks, you can come in here, you can see what that template looks like. It's quite easy to use. I use these Google Sheet ones all the time. The only thing tricky sometimes is putting in a time zone, but Google has a lot of documentation on that. And so you put these in here and you upload them back into the ad account. The only tricky thing is this Google Click ID. Every time someone clicks on an ad from Google, it comes with a Google Click ID. Let's look. UTM source, UTM median, UTM term. And then here you find this G-Click ID. So what we have to do is you have your form, we need to record this G-Click ID. When you send this lead to a CRM, or if you send this lead to an email, wherever you send this lead, you got to record this G-Click ID, which the developer, whoever set this form for you, could do that. And then that G-Click ID, you just upload into this template, whatever the conversion name was. It has to be the exact same as what you set up in the Google Ad account, the time, the value, the currency, and then you upload that back into Google Ads. And then Google Ads starts optimizing towards these downstream events, right? And Google starts learning what a qualified lead is. You have to have enough conversion data. But once you have 50 converted leads in there or qualified leads back in there, you can start optimizing the campaign back towards a qualified lead or converted lead, improving the quality that comes out of the account, right? Generally, all leads are not created equally, and generally the cheapest leads are not the best leads, right? The CPL and the cost per qualified lead, generally the lowest cost per qualified lead campaigns that I have are some of the highest cost per lead campaigns, right? Because the higher quality traffic is more expensive. It drives the cost up, but then you have actual revenue coming from those. And so what we do is we optimize our budgets towards those lowest cost per qualified lead campaigns. That's the method we use to drive high value leads, right? That's how we find these customers who come back and book the high cost surgeries, right? If you're a plastic surgeon, there's a big difference in a bot filling out the form, someone just window shopping, and someone who actually books a surgery. And so this optimizes your accounts to people who book a surgery versus like the window shoppers or worse, the bots. The same thing with the attorneys, right? You have a personal injury campaign. This optimizes towards the people who have a more serious claim, not someone who's like, I don't know, just has some frivolous lawsuit they want to bring. And or even the defense side, right? Think maybe you focus more on the prosecution stuff and not as much on the defense. You're going to optimize your campaigns literally towards the segments that have the high or the lowest cost per qualified lead and the highest value ones, right? This is how law firms find cases that bring the law firm $1 million. This is how plastic surgeons find the actual surgeries. This is how anything in the lead gen, anything that is lead gen to high ticket sales on the back end, this is how you find those sales. And this is how you get Google trained to go find those sales. The last thing that I would mention to you is landing pages. So I'll share my screen, and I hope this law firm doesn't sue me because I'm going to use this example. I don't work with this law firm, so not connected with them at all. I just found them because they were top on Google, right? So you can see these guys made a landing page. This is not the law firm's website, right? This is a dedicated landing page, which a lot of times you can see that in the URL even, that this is a standalone landing page that's not connected with this law firm at all, right? What's the law firm name? DTLA Law Group. This is their SEO ranking. And you see here, you can browse practice areas. You can go to their wins, stuff like that. This is a much more streamlined approach to getting the leads, right? This actually, I might send this page to some of my clients to imitate as an example, because this, you don't have the opportunity to browse around the website. If you're a law firm and you want to pull your lead costs down, this is a much better page to send traffic to than the website as a whole. And it just will reduce that CPL, right? I know that lowest CPL is not everything when it comes to any of these practice areas that we just talked about, law firms, plastic surgery, financial publishing, any of that, right? CPL, lowest CPL does not correlate to the highest value leads. But this can drive that same quality traffic and just get you to get a higher opt-in rate off of the traffic that comes through, right? This law firm on the same traffic, the same keywords, right? They just will convert a higher percentage of those people on here. And I think you can tell because if you see here, it says winning PPC page. So they've done some testing. This page is the winner. And this page is the winner from 2023. And so that is the last thing I would recommend. I work with a lot of plastic surgeons who have a very low opt-in rate on their website because the website's designed for SEO or something, right? It's not designed to capture lead flows. This site has a lot of holes in the bucket. You can go watch on YouTube and stuff. This page has very little holes on the bucket. You can fill out the form. You can call them. You can get a free consultation. You can see the privacy policy. There's some social items down here, but it's like a much more streamlined experience where there's fewer things that someone could go look at, right? And so that's great if you want to squeeze all of the leads out of the traffic that you can. I really do recommend this for most of our clients That is kind of a controversial take because I think a lot of media buyers do like sending traffic to the homepage. There is some degree of qualifying by sending traffic to the homepage. Maybe people read more content about whatever it is. They've read the whole liposuction page. I build out these lead opt-in pages that put a lot of that context. So I think that I'm still qualifying quite a bit on the lead opt-in page, just removing the option to click through to 10 different tabs and whatnot, right? If you click on a liposuction ad, you can read liposuction content. You can't go look at BBL and stuff. And so sure, maybe there are some cross-sell opportunities that we miss, but we capture a whole lot more of those leads on that desired topic from the ad, going with the route through a landing page. I use a tool called Unbounce. It's quite easy to go in there and make pages. I'm not a developer, but I can spin up new landing pages for my clients or even myself quite easily in there. Also, if you use a tool like Unbounce, you can Google templates, right? I go and find templates all the time that are a little bit more sophisticated. Obviously, Unbounce has some templates preloaded, but if you just go to Google and look, there will be other people who've made more robust templates that you can use for whatever your application is. The landing page does not need to be beautiful, right? Especially if you've invested a lot in your website. It needs to look good. It can't be unprofessional, but it does not need to be super designed. I've even seen some of the most simple pages do the best because it takes away some of the distractions. Really simple pages tend to do quite well when we use them in this lead opt-in range. And so, yeah, don't overcomplicate it. Simple is better, and use a tool like Unbounce. It can be quite cheap to spin up a new page and then do some split testing on that page, which would be the other thing I would recommend is testing different headlines and whatnot on the page. Sorry. Yeah, but that's more or less what I would recommend for this high ticket sales from a lead gen campaign. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll put my Calendly link up there. I do account audits all the time. If you want an account audit, if you want to just spitball ideas and stuff, I'm always down to do that. And then, yeah, I have a lot of other YouTube videos up on specifics of building out a Google Ads campaign. So if you want to get something built up, even if you haven't before, you can jump on there and take a look at other videos on my YouTube. Okay, cool. Talk to you guys soon.